The Citadel of Dusk return the High Elves to Lustria. They're all about securing coastlines and establishing global trade between Ulthuan and Grand Cathay. But how does all of this pan out in gameplay? Let's take a look and find out. Right after this word from today's sponsor, FlexiSpot.
By now, you guys should know that me and FlexiSpot, we're pretty tight. They hooked me up with a standing desk and an ergonomic chair, so I'm incredibly comfortable when I'm working at my desk. But did you know they also do living room furniture? This right here is their Lotus XC6 recliner, and I'm not lying to you when I say that this might be the most comfortable piece of furniture that I have ever owned. Like, I wish I could just hold this thing upstairs and have it as my office chair. I'm sure I could take it apart just as easily as I put it together, but I think my partner would probably kick me out of the house if I stole this away all to myself. Right off the bat, it's a nice wide seat with premium fabric and filling, making it absurdly comfortable to sit in for any period of time in any position. It has 360-degree swivel as well as rocking back and forth, and it does this all completely silently. So if you're one of those people that hate sitting still, this is the chair for you. It has a cheeky bit of storage in the left armrest, so if you want to store your TV remote in there and probably forget that you put it there and never find it ever again, it's got you covered. And obviously, it's a recliner, so you just pull this here lever and instantly get your legs up in front of you. You even have the option of just leaning a little bit back and going nearly completely horizontal. Honestly, my favourite part about the chair is the sturdiness of this backrest. You can pretty easily be reclined with your legs up, but be sitting up if you want to watch TV or play a game or something. But if you want to recline all the way back and probably fall asleep, you can do that just leaning back a little bit harder and then instantly come back up, and it's just as sturdy in either position. I'm not joking when I tell you that me and my partner almost fight over who gets to sit in this when we're watching TV or playing a game together. It is so comfortable that I don't want to sit in anything else. So if you want to get one for yourself, they're £150 off right now for the anniversary sale, so head on down to the link in the description to find out everything you need to know. I've been using FlexiSpot products for years at this point, and they've never let me down, and this here is no exception. Thanks again to FlexiSpot for sponsoring the video, and now, let's get into this faction.
They can still make use of the base mechanics of the High Elves. This means intrigue at court and spending influence on powerful lords and heroes, as well as their standard lineup of rights. Of course, the one and only faction of this mod is the Citadel of Dusk, and they're led by Ulthuan Stormrider. That faction has a number of unique mechanics. Ulthuan is working with Cathay to establish a supply line to Lustria, and as such starts out with contacts in Lothan and the Cathayan ports of Han Yu and Li Zhu. To do this, he'll need to secure a large number of ports and other locations along the entire coastline. This will be plenty to keep you busy for a good long while, as you'll be getting into wars with a lot of other factions, so we'll need to expand your armies quickly to keep yourself safe. Doing so will provide him with a number of powerful boons and bonuses, as well as remove his starting debuffs to get him back in the game. Collecting them all will take you quite a long time and keep you busy for a very long while in your campaign, so it acts as a good story mode to keep you busy. The Citadel of Dusk is also invisible to all non-allied factions, so should be targeted less often by hostile factions. Bear in mind that this seems to be just the capital, so your other settlements will still be seen, making this a little bit useless, but still a thing that they do have. And lastly, the Wizard Caladris. This is a legendary hero you start your campaign with, and similar to Alariel, all regions he visits gain temporary bonuses. It's nothing crazy, but will help his and any other local armies maintain control. And lastly, his faction also offers 10% movement range for all armies. For Ulthuan's own army, he enables lightning strike battles without any need for skills, enables noble recruitment wherever he goes, and reduces the action cost, increases the action success chance, and the hero capacity for noble heroes. His starting location is of course the Citadel of Dusk, and for his starting units he has Spearmen, the Storm Riders, Shielded Lothan Seaguard, Valyrian Reaver Archers, the Great Eagle, and an Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, as well as of course Caladris, the legendary wizard. For the unique units in this mod, we only have the Lord and Hero. First up, Ulthuan Stormrider himself. He's quite possibly the best legendary lord the High Elves have access to. Stats wise, he's exceptionally tough with extremely high armor. He's pretty quick, with reasonably high speed for a footlord, really impressive melee stats for both attack and defense, and the weapon strength is extremely strong armor piercing, so not much outside of resistance is going to stand up to him. On top of this, he has access to a mix of laws of high magic, heavens, and light. It's a bit of a weird mix, but it leaves him with plenty of damage and utility for even more value against pretty much anything. Throw him into the front lines against basically anything, and keep the spells coming for value you can't really find anywhere else. For his mounting options, he has the Barded Ithilmar Steed. This gets him a lot more speed and charge bonus at the cost of a large hitbox. I'm not really sure if the trade-off is worth it here since he's such a strong frontlines fighter. Now sure, he still can be, but it'll take a lot more damage doing it with the increased size. If you're going for this, then use him more to seek out key targets like other lords and heroes, otherwise stick to the feet for general frontlines use. He also has Sharp Claw. This drops some melee stats for even more speed, charge, and weapon strength. This is a bit better of a trade-off even with a larger size and drop in melee stats. The extra damage and ability to be anywhere on the map in seconds lets him be a global threat to pretty much anything. Target lords and heroes to take them out with ease, and pick out key targets on the front lines and send him in with support to keep him safe. And the legendary hero Caladris. He's a very standard casting hero with a very non-standard set of spells. He has Plague of Rust from the Law of Metal, and then every other spell is something totally new, so let's take a quick look at his spells. Fiery Gaze deals non-armor piercing magical fire damage in an expanding tear shape. It's useful for casting on large clumps of less armored enemies for some decent damage. It's not going to one-shot anything, but if you just need to thin the herd, 7 Winds of Magic isn't a bad price to do so. Plus, if used against anything that relies on healing, that fire damage will go a long way towards keeping them weak. For the overcast, it increases the cost by 4 and increases the armor piercing damage. It can still be used on large clumps, only now it'll do more damage and fare better against more armored targets. It's not going to one-shot some greatswords by any means, but it'll at least do something to them instead of being totally worthless. That said, I'd still stick to less armored targets for maximum impact. Courage of Anarian grants 60% charge bonus, 50% mass acceleration and charge speed in a 35 meter area of effect for up to 3 allies for 54 seconds. Obviously, this is best used on charging units, so in the case of the High Elves, whatever cav you have on hand. Any one of these bonuses by itself would significantly increase the charging ability, so all 4 at once, and it's on up to 3 units, that's a pretty good deal. Set up your cav to charge and drop this on them to massively increase their impact. Make sure you keep them cycling for the full duration to get as much value as possible. With 54 seconds, you can pretty easily get off 2 charges, so just manage your time wisely to get your money's worth. The Overcast increases the cost by 5 and has the same base effects and then has permanent lesser effects for the rest of battle. This is a pretty costly spell, but the permanent upgrades to your cav are pretty sweet if you're good at managing them. Still use it the exact same and really focus on cycling when the main effects are active to get as much value as possible. Then enjoy your cav being just a little bit better for the rest of battle. Like I said, you need to be good at managing cav to get the most out of this one, but if you can handle it, it can bring a lot of value all battle long. The Flames of the Phoenix is a 3-tiered damage, healing reduction, and armor reduction spell. Each tier has increasing effects on all 3 aspects, dealing between 1400 and 2800 damage total. This is a great option for either single entities like monsters or characters, as well as anything that's particularly nasty, even if it's multiple entities. The damage might not seem like a lot, but over time it adds up to a potential of nearly 3000 damage. No matter what you place it on, that's going to hurt. The armor reduction is also pretty great and will make the target much weaker to all forms of damage, so once you cast it, make sure you focus your damage to capitalize on this weakness. The healing reduction is a little niche with how many factions realistically make much use of healing, but if you find yourself against some vampires or the Law of Life, it'll come in useful. Overall, it's a pretty strong, if expensive spell that allows you to totally shut down a single unit, so make sure you focus down the target and choose something important to get the most bang for your buck. Fury of Cain is a magic missile spell and deals magical, flaming, and piercing damage, both with a missile and explosion. It's a pretty standard magic missile spell with some decent damage against pretty much anything. Cast it on any target you want some extra damage on, and as long as you have line of sight and they aren't dodging too hard, you should land some strong hits. It is a little bit expensive for a magic missile spell, even with all that damage, so make sure your target is something high value to get your money's worth. If possible, target something close by to other enemy units to make the most of that explosion. The Overcast increases the cost by 4 and increases the armor piercing damage, as well as granting a burnt status effect. It's now an extremely expensive missile spell that deals a very large amount of damage and now reduces the leadership of anything hit. If you really want to deal this much damage to a single target, then I honestly might just recommend Flames of the Phoenix since it's not that much more expensive. But if you've got 16 Winds of Magic and want to give it all you've got, this will deal some nice damage. Target it the exact same as before and it'll just do a little better. And lastly, we have Lightning Strike, which deals moderate magical damage in a 20 meter area of effect over 2 seconds. The spell says Vortex, but this is a bombardment spell through and through. After the duration is complete, a single lightning bolt will hit the target's area, dealing massive damage to everything caught inside. The spell card doesn't really do this one justice, as the damage in practice is very impressive. The area affected is also pretty large, making it a great option for dealing a lot of damage to a clump of enemies. Just be cautious about friendly fire, as it really deals a lot more damage in a much larger area than it seems. Aside from this, he's not really much use in combat, so keep him out and casting for a bunch of easy value. For his mounts, he has Uplifted by the Winds. This changes him into an artillery piece with powerful magic non-armor piercing damage over a medium range. He still doesn't really change the melee stats, so keep him well back in casting, and now enjoy the added range damage bonus. Now for some closing thoughts on this faction as a whole. Playing this right after Aramir is making it look just a little bit bare bones. I know it's not an entire unique race, I wasn't expecting a full roster, but all we're really getting is a Lord, a hero, and a couple of very simple mechanics. It's still another starting location and playstyle for the High Elves, so if that's what you're looking for, then you'll probably have a lot of fun. Plus, the naval supply lines mechanic does give you a lot to do and will motivate most of your wars for the first few turns. However, once that's completed, you kinda do run out of things to do, since their other mechanics are very passive. From doing some reading about the Citadel of Dusk in the lore, they're part of the High Elf Navy and do a lot of patrolling the seas and wiping out Dark Elves and other threats. It would have been nice to see some creative liberties taken there and maybe give them a sort of High Elf Black Ark situation to help them stand out. Or maybe something where they want to control all ports surrounding Lustria to give them some motivation to link up with the Fortress of Dawn and secure the desert coastline, or even take the fight to the Chaos in the south. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure the OVN team know the lore way better than I do from my 5 minutes of Googling. I just feel from a gameplay perspective, they would have benefited from some creativity for the sake of fun gameplay, rather than feeling very restricted to the lore, but that's just me. Now, their campaign gameplay aside, while they may only get 2 new units, they are extremely strong. Like I said earlier, Ulthuan might be the strongest High Elf Lord, since he's just so good at everything. Having a Lord that's this good at fighting, whilst also being a powerful spellcaster, is something that's a little bit missing from the High Elf roster. The Dark Elves have Malekith filling this role, but the closest the Acer ever got was Eltharion, and he's not even quite as strong. Caladris, the legendary hero, is another extremely strong addition. While he may be a basic caster, both his Lore of Magic and the Mount are exceptional. Unique spells are all pretty top tier and make him a devastating caster against all kinds of targets. It may be a pretty expensive spellbook, but boy oh boy do you get your value out of those wins. His mount also functions like a mini casket of swords with a shorter range and faster firing rate, making him extremely effective on the back lines. On the whole, while the faction may not be all that exciting, the Lord and Hero are great additions to the roster and a lot of fun to use in battle. So while this may not be a campaign I can see many people playing over and over again, they're pretty great for a quick blast through at least once. And that's all I have on the Citadel of Dusk mod for Warhammer 3. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the faction and any other mods you'd like me to check out. Like, subscribe, and if you want more Warhammer 3 mod videos, then check out this video on the Araby roster.